guys, it's Mrs. C here with Cycle 2, Week 7. I'm very sorry if some of you have gotten ahead of me. I had intended on recording these last week and then I had some kind of sinus infection or allergies, I don't know what going on, and so I didn't get those recorded. And then we had a field trip and life, and anyway, I'm here now, Week 7. Hopefully you didn't get ahead of me, so let's jump in. All right, so for geography, we have peninsulas this week. I do want to remind you that while it has the headings up at the top, if you have kids doing Memory Masters, they don't have to know the headings. Those are mostly just there for, I guess, tutor parent benefit, just for groupings of what we're going to be learning this week. So we have peninsulas, and the way they do it in the guide won't be the way I probably do it in class, because I like to either work top down or from your perspective, but from left to right. So I will probably start up with the Scandinavian peninsula. So we have Norway and Sweden up there, and we'll try to help ourselves remember that it's the one that kind of comes down with two humps down at the bottom that are Norway and Sweden, and just talk about why is this a peninsula. It's surrounded on three sides by water, so that's what we're going to be looking for other peninsulas. Then we'll go down to the Iberian Peninsula, which includes Spain and Portugal, and just remind them, we know these places, Spain and Portugal. So when we talk about the Iberian Peninsula, it's both of those together. I'll probably take a minute and be like, what sea is by the Iberian Peninsula? We've got the Mediterranean Sea on one side and the Atlantic Ocean on the other side. Same thing with the Scandinavian Peninsula. We have the Baltic Sea and the North Sea, just to kind of throw in some of our other geography, do a little bit of review. I like to try to review as much as I can while our maps are out and while we're doing geography. And also it kind of helps, at least it helps me, just really solidify the entire map rather than just individual locations on the map. So anyway, so after the Iberian Peninsula, we'll go over to the Apennine Peninsula, which is basically Italy. And while it's not the Alpine Peninsula, I do think it sounds like, it reminds me of the sound that we say when we say Alps, and the Alps are right above it. So just to help remember the name, Apennine is by the Alps, then the Alps are right north of Italy, which is our Apennine Peninsula. And again, this peninsula goes down and has the Adriatic Sea on one side and the Mediterranean Sea on the other side. And then our last peninsula we have is the Balkan Peninsula. It's the smallest of our peninsulas, and it is made up by Greece, and it is just all Mediterranean Sea around it. I guess maybe part of it. I don't think any of it's Adriatic Sea. I don't know exactly where the water is merged there, but I think it's all Mediterranean Sea, and it is Greece. And so we will just take a minute and then go back over those. Probably, and upon initial introduction, we'll just point at all of them. Then I'll have them go back through, and as we say them, we'll circle each of those, and then I'll have them erase. So I will say things like, erase the peninsula that is made up by Italy. And so then they would erase the Apennine Peninsula. Erase the peninsula that is made up of two large countries by the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. That's kind of how I would do it. So just going through and have them erase, and then we go through and just say them one more time. So that's what I will do for geography. For math, we're down to one number. That's always super fun. And so for the 13s, it's been several weeks since I recorded. Tomorrow will be our week 6. So tomorrow I'm planning on doing the Yahtzee dice game with them. So probably for this week 7, I will do my shape sorting cube. If you aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, I do have a video about all the different ways that I do math when you have to say the whole equations that you can go take a look at if you need some new ideas. But basically I have a shape sorting cube. It's one of the old school ones that has a different shape on every side. Well, 3 different shapes on every side. And it's more difficult than the newer ones that you can go and buy in the store. So I will bring that in. One student will work on trying to get all the shapes in while the rest of us are reciting our times tables. So since we are down to one number that we'll be working through, it'll give everybody a chance to do that while we get our 7 times in, and hopefully we won't go over time doing it that way. So that's what I plan to do for math. For history, we have the Reformation, which is all Martin Luther nailing his theses onto the door. So I thought it might be fun, and I think because some of our other subjects are not gonna, I think, take my full 4 minutes to go through, I think it will be fun to let them do kind of a pin the theses on the door in the style of pin the tail on the donkey. So what I'll do is plan to have them all line up and blindfold them with some bandanas, and I'll probably put some kind of target on the door, and I will just have like a normal piece of paper with some sticky tack or a piece of tape, and just let them walk up and try to stick them up on the door like Martin Luther when he nailed his theses to the door. And we will be singing and playing through the song as they're taking turns doing that. So I will probably wait to do history, if I do that, till the very end, save it for my last subject, so that we don't get too crazy, and then try to calm down for the rest of it. But that will be my intention with that. If you feel like that might be too much for your class, this is a great song if you have the little guitars that they sell at the Dollar Tree, to bring those in, because this has a really fun like guitar part. And you could also let them play guitar and then try to whistle along to the song, and just listen and play and whistle, because it also has a fun whistle part. So that is history. For science, we have the forms of pollution, and I learned a song of this my very first year in CC, which was many moons ago. And so I learned it in class. I do remember seeing a video at some point, but I have no idea where it is or who it was. So I apologize if it's you. Please let me know. I would love to give you credit. The video was this really cute little girl singing the song, and it's stuck with me ever since then. So this is what I use every year. But the song goes like this. The 6 forms of pollution are noise and air and water, land and thermal, then there's radioactive. And they can kind of squat down and jump if you want to have them stand, especially if you have younger kids. This is a good one to let them move. If you want to add a little more movement for land, you can have them kind of squat down and touch the land, and they can stay squatting and do thermal, and then jump up and explode for radioactive if you have the space for that one. So I'll sing it for you again. The 6 forms of pollution are noise and air and water, land and thermal, then there's radioactive. So I don't know if that is to the tune of anything. That's just the tune that I learned. I haven't figured out if it is to the tune of something else, but that is the song that I learned forever ago. It randomly will pop into my head because it's one of those songs. So that's what I will do for science with them. We will just learn that song in the hand motions. I don't do a ton of hand motions with my older kids because they're a little beyond it, but I think it'll work well for this one, especially if we add in those actions at the end. So for English, we've got more possessive pronouns, so many pronouns. And so our last week, or week 6 of pronouns, are the ones that are mine, yours. And so it's not like an adjective where it's being stuck in front of words. So these pronouns are adjectival pronouns, where they're going to be stuck in front of the word to describe whose it is, right? So this is my ball, or your ball, or his ball, her ball, its ball, or it's our ball, or your ball, or their ball. So there's no S on the ends of these, so I will point that out to them and tell them that this is always going to be followed by some type of a noun. And so I'm going to use the ball just to be our noun to help demonstrate. So I'll pass the ball around and say my ball, your ball, his ball, her ball, its ball, our ball, your ball, their ball. And we'll go all around and say that. And hopefully they'll be good and not toss the ball. I'll threaten them in some way if they do. So we'll just go around, say those through a few times. We'll maybe try to pass it a little bit faster as we go if they're behaving themselves with it. But we'll just try to differentiate that these possessive pronouns are adjectives. They're going to be used in front of a noun to describe and tell us whose the noun, whatever the noun is, rather than the other ones, which were possessive pronouns that were like, that's mine, that's yours. There wasn't a noun that was following after it. So there's our difference there. So that was what I will do for English. For Latin, we have our perfect tense. And I was staring at this when I was like, why? I can't remember how this is perfect, because I knew I had a picture of Mary Poppins, and I was like, why? So it's Mary, so we have the E, so E is to it. It's Mary E. Poppins, and Mary Poppins was practically perfect in every way. So that's where we get our that's where we get our kind of reminder for perfect tenses E. So Mary Poppins was practically perfect in every way. So E is to it, perfect tense. And if you are like, what tune is this to? It's The Farmer in the Dell. And it's like, it was really hard for me to remember that one. So Farmer in the Dell, E is to it. So that's what it is. We will sing through it a couple of times. I will write up on my board that it's the I have something with an ED ending on it. I want to help them start connecting these endings to what they're learning in English and essentials, because having a daughter in Challenge A, I'm realizing how connected those subjects are and how important it is to have some of a grasp on that as you enter into those challenge years. So I'm trying to focus more on that with these older, I don't have the oldest kids, but they only have a few years left, most of them. So just really giving a little more attention to that. With the younger ones, just chant through it, let them get the chant down. That's really all that matters. And again, point with this song, it only sings through it once, so you will need to sing it multiple times to get your 7 times. And with the other ones, they chant through it a few times, I think, in all of them except for this one. So you get your times in a little quicker, but this one only goes through it once. So let's see, the last thing we have is that everything? Timeline. Okay, so for timeline, I'll do the hand motions, and then I will tell you what I will do to introduce this. So we have Jesus the Messiah. So we're going to tap our hands. This is where the nails went into his hands. So this is our sign for Christianity usually. So we're going to tap here. We're going to make an L and go from our shoulder to our hip. This is like a sash for royalty. We do this for a lot of different signs. This is an L for Lord. And then because there's time, the Messiah, and we just kind of hold our hands up in praise to our Messiah. Then we have Pentecost, so we're going to bring our finger out, they were speaking, and then we're going to have our hands come up like this of the fire, because the tongues of fire. And the early church, we're just going to bring a C around, bring it on top of our hand. So Pentecost and the early church. And then we have persecution, so we're going to kind of act like we're hitting like this. Persecution spreads, and then we're going to take this and make a G. It's almost like you're getting ready to pinch something, and we're just going to kind of act, I don't know if we're picking up, if we're spreading. Oh, I remember what it is actually. It's we're turning the pages of the Bible is kind of what it's supposed to be like. So the gospel. All right. So persecution spreads the gospel. And then we have Herod's temple. So we're going to bring our fist around like we always do for temple. Herod's temple. And then it's going to be destroyed by Titus. It says your thumb underneath your first finger for a T. Titus, and then right from there you can go right into a D, which is Diocletian, and then he's going to divide the Roman Empire. We've got an R, it's just your fingers crossed. Okay, then we have Constantine, another C, legalizes Christianity. So we're just going to tap in the middle of our hands again, and then India, pointing to our bindi dot as usual, and then our gold, because it was a rich civilization, Gupta dynasty. Or as I always feel like it sounds like, Goop Duck Dynasty. So those are hand motions for timeline. I'll do them one more time for those of you who are using hand motions. So we have Jesus the Messiah. And then we have Pentecost and the early church. Persecution spreads the gospel. Herod's temple destroyed by Titus. Diocletian divides the Roman Empire. Constantine legalizes Christianity. India's Gupta dynasty. So that is the hand motions for timeline. I've had several people ask. I don't focus a ton on the hand motions for timeline. I feel like that is something if our families want to learn that, that's awesome. I'm happy to introduce them just to get the kids introduced and let them see and, show the parents the official ones. But then I tend to just go over them very quickly. I don't spend a lot of time on them because, especially with little ones, trying to get them to do a D or get their fingers on the right spot, it just takes too much time. So we'll leave that to the parents. introduce it quickly, and then I move on to something else. So again, I did a video on different ways to do timeline if you're looking for something new and different to do, or if you just want some other ideas. I will probably, for this one, I will probably hide the cards in the room because it's a section that they know really well, the Jesus and Messiah and what comes after. They tend to know it really well, so I don't feel like I need to lay them out and really have them focus on the cards quite as much. So I'll hide them around the room and we'll sing it through several times as they try to find the cards. I haven't done that with them yet this year, so I think they'll like that. So that is my plan for timeline and for pretty much all of week 7. We start 10 whistle on week 7. I'm just like remembering that. So for 10 whistle, I am intending to do a video. I've just all of my tips and tricks for 10 whistle. I find that you can do 10 whistle and music theory without playing much of the 10 whistle. Not that I'm against it, I just feel like sometimes it can be more of a distraction from what we're actually trying to learn, which is music theory. So I will do a video on that, but that's all for week 7. So I hope again that I didn't lose too many of you guys and that we can all stay together. Like I said, I will try to get weeks 8 through 12 up in the next few days here, and they'll be there available for you all. I hope you've had a great first quarter, are looking forward to second quarter, and I will see you guys back soon. Thanks guys, bye.